games, as they Sunday night football first.
Yeah, well, as mentioned, Chargers are playing one of the Sunday night football teams in week 3. That is the Kansas City Chiefs, who travel to the Baltimore Ravens, arguably the 2 best teams in the AFC, or 2 of the sort of top 3 teams in the AFC. However, Ravens came into the game. Obviously, they've got their problems. First 2 choice running backs out with ACL injuries. I mean, what are the chances? It was a big ask for Lamar. And we've all slated Lamar in the past, saying he's like too fancy and stuff like that. It was one of them games where he was fancy because obviously he did that front flip touchdown to win the game. But it was one of them as well where he had to show up. And I think Lamar actually got the better of Patrick Mahomes, and who would have thought that? I mean, as we're on the topic of Lamar, let's start with Lamar's stats. 18 out of 26 pass completions, 2 interceptions in there, passing touchdown with a total of 239 yards. He actually had a nightmare start. I'm going to go off. He actually had a nightmare start. He was picked in the first quarter by the Chiefs defense, who returned a touchdown, but 2 rushing touchdowns for Lamar, total of 107 rushing yards. One of the best wide receivers in the NFL, Tyreek Hill, he had a very quiet game. 15 rushing yards, 14 receiving yards. Absolute nightmare from him. Duvernay brought the Ravens back into the game. However, it was a bit of a high mouth moment, as it was fumbled on the 1 yard line and he picked it up and got a touchdown. Holmes, we all know what he's like in the pocket, done brilliantly, launched it to the end zone to Demarcus Robinson. Lamar then got picked again, but towards the end of the first quarter, Latavius Murray then rushed into the end zone. Darrell Williams, despite finishing on -2 rushing yards, which I found absolutely hilarious when I was looking at his stats, still got a touchdown for the Chiefs. And then that was a very, very crazy first half. But if you thought that was crazy, the second half was even better. Byron Pringle then outraced everyone for a rushing touchdown to extend the Chiefs' lead. And this is where I said about Lamar Jackson being fancy. He then sort of did a leap in the air and threw it to Marquise Brown, brought the score back to 4. Kelsey then done brilliantly as well to get in the end zone. He absolutely bullied his way through.
It's like a bulldozer, isn't it? Travis Kelsey,
yeah.
when he gets going like that.
Yeah, to extend the Chiefs' lead to 35-24. And Adam, I believe it was you that said last week, what does a team have to do to beat the Chiefs?
They've got to score at least 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, 5 touchdowns or 35 points. It's exactly what Baltimore Ravens did. Lamar then rushed himself, bring the game back to 35-30, and then he was untouched and flipped his way into the end zone. I mean, imagine this though. If he flipped his way into the end zone and fumbled it, we've all had moments where we called Lamar Jackson a clown. I mean, imagine if he just did that. I mean,
everyone would have been absolutely all over it, wouldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, fair play to him for sort of showing off in a way. But yeah, it was one of them games where you expected a very, very close matchup, and it was Lamar on home soil that got the better of Patrick Mahomes in the end.
Yeah. So whilst you get your voice back, just to add my thoughts now, you've done well to power through that. For listeners that don't know, Brad's sort of not been too well, but he, as I say, powering through this podcast for us all. But yeah, no, my thoughts on the game was simply that, amazingly, despite scoring 35 points, I thought that Chiefs actually weren't clinical enough, because the nature of the game is, say, Lamar's running game, as we know, is absolutely excellent. I think we saw pretty much everything about Lamar Jackson in this game. Running spectacular, the odd flamboyant pass, but then some absolute shockers. I mean, he must have thought that Tyrell Matthew, the honey badger, played for the Ravens all of a sudden, because he found him twice. The first one, of course, led to the pick 6, putting the Ravens, as we say in the UK, under the cosh straight away. But as I say, offensively, mainly through the rush game and then the assistance of Latavius Murray, the Ravens were a threat going forward, and the Chiefs, once they got to 35 points, it's weird. It's like they felt they'd done enough, and then Mahomes for only first ever September interception, and he sort of does it as he was falling over. I think he should have just took the sack. And that's the thing. There was so many opportunities for the Chiefs before the fourth and one rush by Lamar to finish it. That's what killed the game, of course, in the end. So it's not a disaster for the Chiefs because more often than not, their offense will fire. But the concerning thing was, I think, that even when the Chiefs' offense didn't quite finish plays off, when they went 3 and out, they were then conceding. And I think that's the concerning thing, is that anytime you lose a game, you've conceded 30+ points, you've got to look at your defense for help. And that Chiefs defense has got to improve, because you can get your way through like the AFC with, of course, a home field advantage, but in neutral venue, you come up against a team like the Bucks again, they're going to exploit those defensive weaknesses. So it was a shock win, because normally these two, when they match up, it's so one-sided to the Chiefs. But Lamar ultimately 50-50 with throwing, but especially the rushing game, he took away from Kansas City in the end, and it was a spectacular win. And I think the game in total, especially atmosphere as well, you have to say that the Baltimore crowd sort of rallied their team over the line, encouraged Lamar to go for that 4th and 1, and it was a magnificent home win in the end, 36-35.
Yeah, definitely. I think Lamar as well, obviously with his 2 main running backs out, he's sort of got 2 roles. He's got to play quarterback and running back at the same time, with the Ravens' problems at running back. Moving on